But first,
What are you doing here, bro? Get out of my house. Leave, go. Go, leave. You guys gotta go. So you got my door open? Are you guys knocking or are you just trying to knock it down?
Is this your house?
This is my house. I live here.
What's your name?
Don't worry about my name. You gotta get up out of here, dude. It's time for you guys to go.
that's 26-year-old Eduardo Orozco facing off with federal agents after he says they tried to forcibly enter his home in the southwest suburb of Lyons.
What's your name and badge number?
Okay, have a good day, all right?
Yeah, that's what we're doing?
Have a good day.
That's what ICE is doing? You guys are so pathetic. Yeah, get up out of here.
Here with more on what raids in the Chicago area have looked like so far, our WBEZ immigration reporter Adriana Cardona Maguigad, and Sun-Times social justice, immigration, and income inequality reporter Elvia Malagón. Good to see you both again.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Hi, Sasha.
I will start with you, Adriana. The man that we just heard on the tape, Eduardo Orozco. Tell us more about what happened after he says ICE attempted to break into his home.
So basically, and just want to clarify, we know that there were federal agents, and it's unclear which agency they were coming from. At some point, Eduardo thought, or thinks that they came from like the Department of Homeland Security, which also, oversees ICE, the ICE agency. And, he was hanging out with a friend in the alleyway. These agents tried to, without permission, come through the backyard. Obviously, he got his phone out and started recording.
And it was an intense interaction, it sounds like.
It was a very intense interaction where he was asserting his rights. Like, he was asking them about any warrants. According to him, he was saying and didn't see any. And he really tried to keep them out of his house. At some point, it seems like the agents were trying to enter the main door, just opening, and he went in with the phone, just saying, no, get out of here, get out of here. Then he kind of followed them a few steps down the block. And that's when he realized that his dad's truck was parked very close to where the agent's car was also parked. And he wanted to take the plate numbers of that vehicle, but then he realized that somebody was inside that car.
He heard screams, right?
He heard screams, and then that's when he realized that they had taken his dad.
Wow.
And it was a moment of shock for him. They ended up, arresting his dad, and so it was really unfortunate in his efforts to kind of keep the home safe, in a way.
Right.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, and here's the thing. We have been hearing, Elvia, different messages when it comes to the Trump administration talking about who exactly they're targeting here, right? We've heard sort of from the beginning Trump claiming that ICE is specifically going to be going after people who are here in the country without legal status, who also have criminal records. But what I want to play for you is this little back and forth between a reporter and the White House press secretary, Caroline Leavitt. This was a press briefing back on January 29th.
Of the 3,500 arrests ICE has made so far since President Trump came back into office, can you just tell us the numbers? How many have a criminal record versus those who are just in the country illegally?
All of them, because they illegally broke our nation's laws, and therefore they are criminals as far as this administration goes. I know the last administration didn't see it that way, so it's a big culture shift in our nation to view someone who breaks our immigration laws as a criminal, but that's exactly what they are.
So essentially, now it sounds like she's saying everyone's a criminal, right? I mean, is there a clear picture of what the Trump administration's policy is right now?
There's not a clear picture because one thing is here, ICE, the Chicago field office, has not told us how many people exactly have been arrested, who has been arrested, if they had any criminal record. What we're hearing from attorneys who are looking into this is that many of them don't have criminal records. And right now, how the law is written is that a person who's in the U.S. without legal status, it's not a criminal offense. It's a civil offense.
That person is not considered a criminal
Correct.
offense in and of itself, the fact that they're here without legal status.
Correct, yeah. And so we still have a lot of unanswered questions, and even Chicago officials haven't really given, or they don't really know a clear picture of who all was arrested in the past couple of weeks. But we know people like Eduardo's dad.
Did he have a criminal record?
We dug into that, and all we could find were traffic and municipal tickets, but we couldn't find the kind of criminal offenses that we've been hearing from the White House that that's who they're targeting.
Yeah, yet he was swept up in this raid,
Yeah.
as you report. So where's his father now, Adriana?
So right now, the last time we checked, he is at a detention center in Indiana. And, that detention facility is one of several in the area. Another one is in Wisconsin. But after speaking with several immigration attorneys, they're telling us that typically what happens when somebody gets detained is that they get processed at a processing center in Broadview where they're fingerprinted, they're interviewed, they get their picture taken. And then that's when ICE determines whether they can release them on bond or hold them without bond. But they're not kept in that facility overnight. After that, they're transported to a nearby detention center or within their jurisdiction.
Right.
That could be in Indiana, that could be in Wisconsin, that could be in Oklahoma or Kansas.
Just
depending.
suddenly taken to a completely different place.
Yeah, and another thing I want to mention is that according to this one particular attorney who was explaining the process, Diana Rashid from the National Immigrant Justice Center, she was saying that it's been hard for attorneys to establish contact with people in these detention facilities because there is a higher volume, and it's been really hard to even get to know the details of what happened and even get to them before they actually put on a deportation flight.
So was she able to say whether or not she's come across a lot of people saying, ICE agents did present a warrant that was signed by a judge, or are most people sort of saying there was no warrant, they just broke in, I don't know how this happened?
Based on what she said, almost every case, there hasn't been an instance where federal agents showed a judicial warrant. That's a warrant signed by a judge. Now, they suspect they may have an administrative warrant, but that is not the type of warrant that you can use to enter people's homes because it's in violation of the Fourth Amendment.
Gotcha. So the Fourth Amendment, let's talk about that, Elvia. I mean, it's getting thrown around a lot these days in conversations. Just remind us, and making sure that we're all on the same page here, what rights the Fourth Amendment actually protects.
Yeah, the Fourth Amendment protects against unreasonable search and seizures in the U.S., and that applies to anyone who's living in the country. And how one law expert explained it to me in very everyday terms is either an ICE agent or even a local police officer can't just, if you're walking down the street, can't just stop you because you look like you're a foreign national or like you're not a U.S. citizen and arrest you. So really the Fourth Amendment is supposed to protect against that. And certainly, like our story pointed out, there are questions about if there have been constitutional violations in these past couple of weeks here.
Yeah, would you add to that, Adriana? But just, whether federal agents, from what we know so far, have been violating the Fourth Amendment.
I mean, based on some of the cases that we've been looking into and speaking with attorneys, yes, there's been collateral arrests. That means even if they have a particular warrant looking for somebody else, that moment when they're able to, when a family opens the doors and they end up interrogating somebody else, that is a key moment where the family have to stay quiet or not say anything. But a lot of abuses can happen in terms of violating people's rights to being searched and to also being arrested without a warrant.
And this is exactly what happened in the case of Eduardo Orozco's father, right?
Yes. And
they said that they were looking for a different relative.
Yes, they were looking for a different relative. And it's something that we see happening in other cases in the suburbs as well.
Let's hear a little bit more from Eduardo on just the ripple effect of these arrests.
They think that they're hurting that person who they're looking for by taking my father. They're not. The only person that they hurt was my mother, my sister, the people who are in this building who depend on him. We're not the only family being affected by this, but there's about 8 other families being affected by this as well.
Yeah, talk more about the impact that this is having on just Chicago's immigrant communities. I imagine once the word gets out, this was on video, this went kind of viral. This can instill fear in others, right? They're going to think this is exactly what's going to happen. They're going to show up on my doorstep or at my kid's school, and this is exactly what we're going to go through. Elvia?
Yeah, definitely. And I was going to say, I wrote a story recently about refugees and being a refugee in the U.S., that's a legal pathway. It leads to permanent residency and even citizenship if the person wants to. And folks told me that even that community of immigrants is really fearful. Just seeing the images of people being arrested or possibly being detained, not knowing where they're going to, that's leading to a lot of fear. We're hearing of that happening at schools, people missing medical appointments, just the real fear of, even if maybe you do have all your paperwork in order, maybe you just end up being arrested or detained.
Right. And just as two reporters covering this so closely, I wonder how difficult it has been for journalists to get information about what is actually happening on the ground, because it does not sound at all like ICE is being forthcoming with information. Adriana?
Yeah, not at all. Like we were just discussing that earlier, that at some point I was working from my car because I was just grabbing my computer and my recorder and everything and having to produce like spots from my car because I was driving to several Home Depots. I was giving, like we will look up an address. I will be going there. I will be checking with other rapid responders.
I mean, you're on the ground too.
I was on the ground. Oh my God, I have been on the ground.
Trying to mirror all of these movements.
Trying to, like bring the pieces together. And yeah, without the collaboration of, just more information, about more transparency from the government, it's been extremely hard.
We'll leave it there for now. That's WBEZ immigration reporter Adriana Cardona Maguigad and sometimes social justice, immigration, and income inequality reporter Elvia Malagón. Great reporting up right now at suntimes.com and WBEZ.org. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Now let's turn to community members helping residents know their rights and helping prevent misinformation. So joining us now in studio is Mimi Guiracocha, volunteer with the Pilsen Rapid Response Team and the 25th Ward Independent Political Organization. Welcome back to the show, Mimi.
Thank you so much.
Good to see you. Also on the line is Betty Alzamora, a volunteer with Paso West Suburban Action Project. Welcome, Betty.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Mimi, you've been listening along to my conversation with the journalists in the previous segment, but I want your reaction to that conversation on how ICE raids have been actually conducted so far.
Yeah, I think one thing that we have to give credit to all of the longstanding organizations that have been doing this work, whether it's ICER, OCAD, other people, independent political organizations, immigrant rights organizations, is that we have been building for these moments long before now. Right? Like we actually have a sanctuary city status. We fought for, we know that recently they tried to maybe take that away from us, but we fought back and we were able to keep it in place. We have, schools that are not letting people in, like ICE agents into their schools. We have already built ways to protect our people in the city of Chicago. And I think that's why we're seeing that even, the borders is saying like, oh no, in Chicago, they know their rights. And, they're saying I call it resisting arrest. They call it knowing your rights. And so I think that what we really are facing is that we're actually not seeing as much as we thought we would, which is really good.
I'm glad you brought that up. So yes, President Trump's border czar, Tom Homan, as we know, he's targeted Chicago to carry out these mass deportations. But to your point there, Mimi, he's had to contend with a very strong organization here in Chicago. I want to play a little bit of what he said during a CNN interview last month.
Sanctuary cities are making it very difficult to arrest the criminals. For instance, Chicago, very well educated. They've been educated how to defy ICE, how to hide from ICE. And I've seen many pamphlets from many NGOs. Here's how you escape ICE from arresting you. Here's what you need to do. They call it know your rights. I call it how to escape arrest.
When you hear him say that, does it make you think that maybe some of the work that you're doing, it's not in vain? Like he's noticing.
Certainly. I mean, I think that's the best PR that we can get for local work and grassroots movement and organizations that we're a part of and doing this work all over the city is that, if we can defeat Trump's border czar with pamphlets, I think we're doing the right thing.
Betty, let's bring you in here. You've been putting on these Know Your Rights training sessions in Melrose Park. Talk to us about the key steps that you're trying to communicate to residents here. What's the most important information you're trying to get across?
Yeah, so it's very similar to what Mimi just mentioned. It's important that people, first and foremost, understand that these efforts are having a significant positive effect. So we do play out to them Tom Homan's words and explain to them that, what he calls as evading arrest is really all about, knowing your rights. And when you put it in that context, that yes, we recognize that directly impacted communities are, there's fear out there, but there's also a sense of empowerment when people come together as they have in Melrose Park at Paso. We've had large numbers of folks showing up, 80, 90, 100 people,
Really?
just coming to come together in community. Yeah, it's pretty it's awe-inspiring, and at the same time, it's just an incredible thing to watch that power of community become educated, in Tom Homan's words, and learn about the basic fundamentals of know your right.
Mm-hmm.
So we take people through some of what Mimi's described and others, Elvia and the others, of, what are the fundamentals? What is it that they, why are we doing this is so that we can continue to mitigate and lessen the impact of people being taken forcefully from their homes, places of work, or what have you. We walk them through the basic fundamentals of what they need to be mindful of. I wish to remain silent. I wish to make a phone call. I wish to speak with a lawyer. I do not consent to your entry and search into my home, and I will not sign any document I do not understand. We do this as almost as an exercise, and we ask them to, practice at home, practice with their family, their children, so that they become comfortable with, what are their basic fundamentals that they need to know, as if in fact they have an encounter with ICE at their home or elsewhere.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing is you're preparing them for something that could seriously happen, right? This is not just just in case, like there's a strong chance that many of the people that you're teaching, Betty, and you're teaching, Mimi, this is going to happen to them. They're going to encounter people that are going to ask these questions.
Correct. And so we do role playing. We advise them to do the same at home. Repetition, the practice of it is what makes people comfortable at a moment where, it could be just very heightened with tension.
Right.
We ask people, to remember that they do have fundamental rights, that to the extent that they're prepared, they can remain calm, they can not give any excuse for anybody to break forcefully into their home because they continue to exercise their rights. They do not have to share more information than is necessary. They don't have to tell stories or give excuses or explanations. They just simply remain silent because anything they say can be used against them. And so that there it is, your fundamental Fifth Amendment right.
Right. Well, Mimi, how are you getting the word out to people about their rights?
Yeah, so there are definitely trainings, Know Your Rights trainings happening all over Chicagoland that are being hosted by different organizations. I know that we have some in our own local communities, like our rapid response team, Pilsen Neighborhood Community Council, but also aside of that, we're also going door to door. We're going to laundromats. We're doing outreach in the streets and just telling people here are your rights and giving them we are giving them pamphlets and information, as well as these cards from ICER that tell them their rights that they can actually just keep in their wallet and give to the ICE agent and say, I know my rights, I'm going to remain silent, as well as telling them, first and foremost, if you see anything, if anything happens to you, the rights that Betty mentioned, but also record what's happening and call. There's a number that ICER has. It's an 855-HELP-MY-FAMILY, 435-7693, where people can call any language and say something is happening, I need support. And that's when rapid response teams are deployed to the site.
You're talking about the Illinois Coalition for Immigrant and Refugee Rights.
Thank you.
That's ICER. Yes, just want to make sure we're all on the same page. Yeah. Are there questions, Betty, that you're hearing often from people?
I think what we hear most is, the what ifs. What if somebody comes into my home? Can I just crack the door open to see who it is? Can I just simply try to have a reasonable conversation. And we try to encourage them to really hold firm with what we are telling them they need to do. Remain silent. Don't let them into your home. The moment you open that door, you're inviting them in. I cannot reiterate a total agreement with Mimi. The ICER family support hotline is vital. We also encourage people to add that telephone number, the 1-855 Help My Family, into their favorites on their phones, and to be able to have it at easy reach in the event they are witnessing a ICE activity.
Right.
We take them through the fundamentals of how to record, how to be precise and specific and concise about the information that they are capturing, so that the folks at the Family Support Hotline have vital information that may be useful for follow-up and for immediate rapid response teams to be able to be on scene.
Now, Mimi, different federal and law enforcement agents can be involved in these raids, right? So President Trump has given, for instance, the Drug Enforcement Agency, or the DEA, the power to enforce immigration rules.
Yes.
We saw the confusion of all of this on full display in Chicago just a few weeks ago. Initial reports said that ICE was knocking on the door at Hamline Elementary School in back of the yards. It turned out that they were U.S. Secret Service agents. Talk about why it's important to sort of know the difference between some of these agents.
I think that right now we're in a time where people are very vigilant. We want to make sure that our communities are safe, our families, our friends, our neighbors are safe. And so, of course, we're going to see something suspicious. We're going to get suspicious. We're going to say, what is this? So there are Migra Watch trainings where people can get trained on how to differentiate between different federal agents or not federal agents. What's municipal police, what's CPD, what is all of these different things. Because we don't want there to be confusion, right? We don't want people to think, oh, there's ICE at this block and there really isn't.
Yeah.
But we also at the same time want to take things seriously. Like you mentioned, things can happen. ICE has been present in Chicagoland. And so it is really important that people know the differences. And that's what the rapid response teams are here for. That's what ICE are, also OCAD, organizing communities against deportations. That's what they're there to also do, is to equip the community and people to know how to respond to these things. And again, if people call that hotline with anything that they see, then people can be deployed and actually who are trained say this is or this is not actually ICE.
A lot of different things to keep straight here for folks who are relying on you for information. What are some of the big challenges of doing this kind of work, Mimi?
I think the first one is just a lot of intimidation. People are scared. People aren't going to school. People aren't going to work. And so I think it's really important that we keep clear that people have rights, whether or not they're documented, and that information is available in their language too. So I know that our independent political organization, we've been doing Spanish videos and Spanish information along with other Pilsen rapid response teams, including Pilsen Neighbors Community Council, also the Party for Socialism and Liberation. We're trying to get information out there so people know I have rights. I think a lot of what I've heard from people on the ground is that they're saying well, what if they come in and they say, if you don't let me in, I'm going to take all of you.
Yeah.
Or what if they stop me in the street and they say, you have to show me documentation. Intimidation tactics that ICE has. So I think that's the number one thing, is to keep straight. People know that they have rights, that they don't have to say anything, that they can walk away. And all of these things are just intimidation tactics.
You have some kind of power.
Yeah, and I think that's probably the biggest thing that we've seen is in people just being afraid of that.
That's Mimi Guiracocha, who's volunteer with the Pilsen Rapid Response Team and the 25th Ward Independent Political Organization, as well as Betty Alzamora, who's a volunteer with Paso West Suburban Action Project. Thank you both.
Thank you.
You're most welcome. Thank you.